year after year. Supreme comic book leader! Fight for justice that is blind. An advocate, not a Terminator! With the awesome power of his mind. He speaks for the devil and red!
This is the Fan Without Fear Completist Retrospective. My name is Nick, the Fan Without Fear. Let's take a look at what's on our radar for today. The Amazing Spider-Man number 16, Duel with Daredevil. Today, you probably think of Spider-Man and Daredevil as famous friends and close allies, but that was not always the case. It wasn't really until Peter David started writing for Spectacular Spider-Man in the 80s that the two became friends at all. The heroes had a very difficult time learning to trust each other. Let's take a look at how that started. During the 60s, the Amazing Spider-Man title by Stan Lee and artist Steve Ditko was incredibly popular. I've already commented quite a bit about the use of the Spider brand to promote the new Daredevil book, both directly and through the use of Spidey's Rogues Gallery. But this is the first book to bring the Web-Slinger and the Man Without Fear together in one story. Without a doubt, this Spider-Man run is the work for which writer and creator Stan Lee is best known. Co-creator Steve Ditko is also most remembered for his Silver Age work on The Amazing Spider-Man, but he also created recognizable characters like Doctor Strange and The Question. At this point, Peter Parker is still dating Betty Brant. If you're not sure who Betty Brant is, you need to stop getting your Spider-Man history at the movies and open a book once in a while. Despite his relationship with Betty, Peter's Aunt May would really like to introduce him to her friend's niece, Mary Jane Watson. As much to escape the conversation as anything else, Peter leaves the house, dons his spider PJs, and quickly comes across a blind man being hassled by some street toughs. Spidey smoothly dispatches the thugs and warns the blind man to be more careful about being on the street at night. Now our Daredevil commercial begins, and unlike other early attempts to sell the character, this is awesome. Several pages of this Spider-Man book start to feel like we are reading a Daredevil comic instead of an issue of The Amazing Spider-Man. We really get a great sense of who Matt Murdock and his friends Foggy and Karen are. Also, Stan Lee succeeds in giving a much more clear explanation of Matt's powers and how they work than he has in any of the early issues of Daredevil's own title. The plot lines for this book's two superheroes intersect again as the circus comes to the city and both men see advertisements for a charity appearance by Spider-Man. Ultimately, the ads promising Spidey are all a fraud, but Peter has a natural desire to perform and decides charity is a good reason for Spider-Man to make a public appearance. All of the false advertising was a plot by the Ringmaster and the Circus of Crime to boost attendance. This whole team of villains is making their second appearance in comics with this issue. The concept of the Circus of Crime may sound silly, but I assure you their first appearance was extremely creepy. Here in Amazing Spider-Man, Ditko draws a cast of circus performers who seem focused on strongmen and acrobats. But when they first showed up in Hulk number 3, Jack Kirby presented these characters with a decidedly more sideshow freak look. You may know the Ringmaster's gimmick. He hypnotizes people with his whirly hat to steal from them. But in the Hulk book, he hypnotized entire towns. He used his power to freeze entire communities in a zombie-like state, and then he just left town, with all the people still standing catatonic, waiting for instructions that would never come. Stealing is one thing, but the implication of a touring show blowing through town and leaving all the men, women, and children zonked out to die standing still really creeps me out. Neither the Ringmaster nor his circus are portrayed as darkly here. Once the circus show starts, Spider-Man makes his appearance, and the Ringmaster strikes, hypnotizing both the audience and your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. Luckily, Matt is at the show, and his blindness prevents him from seeing the Ringmaster's top hat. He easily sneaks out and returns as Daredevil to stop the robbery in progress. The Ringmaster immediately uses his influence over Spider-Man to lock the two heroes in combat. Not ever being one to miss a trick, Matt easily determines the Ringmaster's power is all in his hat, and is able to steal the device and use it to release Spidey from the evildoer's hypnosis. The teenage webhead thanks the Guardian Devil for his help, but asks to finish rounding up the Circus of Crime on his own. Amused, Matt discreetly returns to his seat to watch Peter's fight as if it were the main attraction under the big top. Once Spidey has defeated the crooks and used the hat to unhypnotize the crowd, Matt Murdock even sneaks over to the restrained Ringmaster to offer him legal representation. Departing the circus, the pair of heroes go their separate ways. Each wonders about who the other masked adventurer really is. Since they missed an opportunity to properly meet, each man is left alone in his battle to save New York City from crime. Personally, I will confess this issue as a guilty pleasure, but it does set an unfortunate precedent for how Matt will relate to other superheroes for a decade of comics. A lot of early Daredevil team-up stories rely on exploiting Daredevil's blindness to bring the heroes together. As late as the 1970s, you could still count on a Daredevil team-up story to involve a villain who used holograms or weaponized bright lights in their evil plans. Reducing Matt's blindness to a gimmick cheapens the character and offends me as a reader. Oddly, this story is often forgotten in examinations of Daredevil's early days, but is revisited and retold in future Spider-Man comics. In 1999, this story appeared in John Byrne's 13-issue revisiting of the Web-Slinger's Silver Age stories, Spider-Man Chapter 1. A truncated version of the Duel with Daredevil storyline is used as a lead-in for issue number 9, which ultimately focused on a story involving Kraven the Hunter and the Chameleon. Though the series was something of a disappointment from a talented writer and penciler like John Byrne, it was full of great homages to the classic Spider-Man spirit and art. The short-lived 2004-2005 title, Marvel Age Spider-Man, presented classic Spider-Man stories in a family-friendly, all-ages format. In issue 15 of the 20-book run, Daredevil appears in his iconic red Union suit to help Spider-Man battle the Ringmaster. Essentially, it is a retelling of Am-Spy number 16, but Ringmaster is established as a stronger villain, and they add some more fun original moments, including Peter rescuing a spider stand-in at the circus. Going back to the source material, Amazing Spider-Man number 16 paints a very different picture than you probably imagined when you thought of Matt Murdock first teaming up with Peter Parker. It took a long time before the young, impulsive Spider-Man and the quiet, careful Daredevil could learn to cooperate and grow into the famous allies we love today. We'll take another look at Daredevil and Spider-Man teaming up very soon, so make sure you subscribe so you don't miss it. Until next time, always live without fear.